Welcome back. Today in the shop, still working on the Suburban. Right now I've got the front two seats and third row out. I'm cleaning them up. That third row from the Junkyard was in pretty rough shape, and I figured while I'm at it, might as well go ahead and try and clean up the interior of the Suburban some more. So got the third row out and still need a vacuum in there. And then on the inside, still have the second row in here, but as far as the front row, driver's and passenger seats are out. Still got the console in, but I just need to vacuum up in here and get it all tidy up. And then I'm probably gonna throw an ozone bomb in here to try and get rid of the cigarette smell. But, you know, I don't think it matters too much at this point. It doesn't smell as bad as it once did, but yeah, let's do it. Well, we've got the seats out. We've been cleaning the floor, and it's actually cleaning up pretty well. We've got the back seat folded down, trying to get some coffee stains from years and years of use out of it. Got some of the back carpet tucked. We tucked it back into these seat brackets. And now, going ahead while we have the seats out, this cardboard headliner needs to come out. It is just awful. So we're gonna go ahead and pull it. All right, well, our mouths and eyes are full of dust, but that is a whole lot better having no headliner. So much better.
Definitely.
Awful. All right, so I still have the front buckets inside the shop drying from washing them, but I cleaned up the vinyl floor. And we've got the second row all cleaned up, and we put the third row in. And then without the headliner, it looks pretty good. It looks a whole lot better than that awful cardboard that was falling apart. Got our dome lights screwed back on, but I still need to put the bulbs in. But yeah, this thing is honestly, it's showing its age, but it is not cleaning up too badly. That third row especially looks good. I'm so glad we were able to find that in the Junkyard. Got the front two seats in. Of course, we have this awful wiring we still got to figure out. I don't know what I'm gonna do about that, but aside from the awful dash, it looks pretty darn good in here with all three rows of seats cleaned up. I'm liking it. Got the Suburban out in the sun today, and the interior's all cleaned up. Got it all put back together. It's looking really, really nice, in my opinion at least. It cleaned up very well for what it is. Still dash mat awful, but a little bit of bittersweet news. I found a buyer for this thing. I'm selling it to one of my best friends, and brings me to the next point. This is the last time you will see the Suburban looking stock. I am about to be lowering it for him. We're gonna be doing 5.5 in the front, 6 in the rear with a flip kit and a notch. So be the first time I've ever tried notching anything myself. But yeah, this is the last time you'll see this thing stock. We're gonna bring it inside, then I'll start tearing this thing apart, get it lowered. Got the Suburban backed into a good spot in the shop to work on it. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the front. So first thing we gotta do is break these lug nuts loose. All right, I've got all the lug nuts loose on both sides in the front, so now we're gonna go ahead and jack it up from the front cross member and then stick some jack stands underneath the frame. just a little bit up under the front for a little extra support at the moment. All right, Dad is holding the back side. This. Now I've got. You ready?
Yep.
All right, now that we got the top off, now we can go ahead and take off this bottom.
Your head's in the way. Okay, good. That was quick.
Yeah. And now with everything undone, we should just be able to pop it right off. And there is our old shock.
How old do you think that thing is?
I'd say that's original.
1989.
I'm not strong enough to compress that.
Let's see.
Not the worst I've ever seen.
No, it actually is not that bad. I am amazed. Okay.
All right, we've gotten the rubber brake line loose from the upper control arm. Now we just need to remove these two Allen bolts that are holding on the caliper. All right, I've got these caliper bolts loosened. Now we're just gonna zip them right out. Piece of cake. This is a do as I say, not as I do situation, but you want to hang the caliper with the hose to where there's no tension on the hose. I don't have any tension on the hose, but the way I have it hung with this bungee cord and knots is super sketchy, and I just don't want to breathe on it. But now we need to pop off this grease cap and then get into here and get it down to the spindle. Man, it's crazy. Everything looks so nice in this front end. We got the cap off. Now we need to get this cotter pin out and continue to disassemble.
Gonna need a new cotter pin.
Yep.
That thing is. And the grease looks great. I mean, good golly.
All right, we've got the castle nut off after pulling the cotter pin out, and wow, it looks brand new. We'll just slide this sucker right off.
Perfect.
And then
look
down
at that.
To the spindle.
That looks fantastic.
It does.
Would you look at that? Oh my gosh.
Got those 3 bolts out and the dust cap off. Got tons of spider eggs and other junk. But yeah, now we need to pull off the cotter pin and get the castle nut off, and then pop off this tie rod so we can get the spindle free. All right, we've got the tie rod out of the spindle, and we just undid the bolts and got the sway bar out of the lower control arm. So now we just have to separate the lower ball joints and separate the top ball joints. I just unbolt those and then be able to pull the spindle out. Well, I haven't been filming, but we were able to break the ball joints loose finally with hammers and a ball joint puller, and these suckers are on there. But we've got the spindle off, we've got the spring off, we've got the control arm dropped down, so now we just need to put the new coil in and then put it together with a new spindle and then start hooking everything back up. So the way these lowering spindles work is it just moves the location of where your hub mounts to up. So it moves it up, in this case, 3 inches. or 2.5 inches, whatever this is. And then it leaves where the tie rod mounts in the same location on each spindle. As you can tell, it just moves it down and this moves up. I've been doing an awful job of documenting what I'm doing, but we've got the sway bar back on, we've got the tie rod back on. We have everything put back together, and this is something to note with this Street Edge kit especially. I'm not sure if it's with other kits, but the rubber brake hose, we ended up having to bend this fitting right here because it was pressed so hard up against the top of this spindle that it was crushing the brake hose itself. So we were able to bend it down with a brake line bender and get it to fit. And it is close, but it's fine. This side, done. Time to move to the passenger side. Well, we've got the front all put back together, except for shocks. We're waiting on the shocks to come in still. So I guess for right now, we'll go ahead and lower it down and see what the ride height's gonna look like. The answer? Pretty low. It looks good. Alright, I haven't been recording, but whenever you do the flip kit and flip the leaves to the bottom of the axle in the rear on these square body Suburbans, of course you're going to have issues with the shackle bolts not being able to come out because of the spare tire well. There are other videos that I'll show you trying to bend the leaf spring around the axle and people disassembling the entire axle, taking all of the brake lines off of it and removing it, and then flipping it without having to undo the bolts. But the easiest, most efficient way is drilling a hole right in the side of your spare tire well, and then you're able to access that top shackle bolt and just pull it right out. And then whenever you're done, you get your rubber cap, plop it right in the hole, silicone around it. It's going to be perfectly fine, and that will save you tons of trouble and heartache. Easy. Leave it to me to forget to record almost all of the rear. Well, you know, I did not record any of doing the rear flip kit of this thing except for that one part. But now I'm out here driving it, doing a little shakedown, cold AC still working. Honestly, I mean, the rear bottoms out a little. It's gonna need that notch, but I'm not gonna go ahead and do that notch. I don't have the tools for it at the shop, and I'll be honest, I'm scared. But yeah, I will hop out of this thing in just a second, but slam down. The front still needs to settle a little bit, and it'll settle as it gets driven more. But I mean, the stance on this thing is pretty nuts. It is low, super low in the rear. I mean, the hitch is almost dragging, but I think Gunner's gonna be happy with this thing. I think the new owner will be happy, because I'm happy with it. I think this thing turned out sick. I'll be sad to see this thing go. Can't keep them all. Love to build them, hate to sell them. That's life. Whew. Drop done. Outside, running great still. Cold AC. This thing is freaking sick. It was a Herculean task to do this, but man, did it turn out cool. This thing is just so rad. I am really gonna miss having this thing around. I absolutely love this thing. What a good truck. Glad I was able to save it from the junkyard. Glad it's going to an owner that'll appreciate it and love it. I wish I didn't have to sell it. Man, I love this thing.